Welcome to this powerful journey into the Confidence Code, the Science and Art of Self-Assurance, What Women Should Know by Katty K. and Claire Shipman. This isn't just another self-help book, it's a science-backed, story-rich exploration of confidence, how it works, why it matters, and how women everywhere can cultivate more of it. Whether you're chasing leadership, self-belief, or simply tired of second-guessing yourself, this is for you. Make sure to subscribe for more motivational audiobooks and deep dives into transformational reads. And if something resonates with you today, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Chapter 1. It's Not Enough to Be Good. Before we even stepped inside, we could hear the energy, shouts, thuds, and sneakers pounding the court. We were deep in the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C., there to study confidence in its rawest form. We believed we'd find it in women's professional basketball, stripped of everyday distractions and self-doubt, powerful and unfiltered. We came searching for a living, breathing picture of female confidence, something to point to and say, that's it. That's the direction. It was the Washington Mystics' opening practice of the 2013 season. The first thing we noticed was the physical presence of the athletes, tall, strong, commanding. These women had conquered one of the most demanding sports, and it showed. We had seen confidence before in boardrooms and political offices, but it often felt like a facade, calculated, temporary, and fragile. On the court, we believed there was no room for pretending. To win here, confidence had to be real. And it was in the precision of passes, in the fluid power of motion, in the silence of hesitation-free decisions. One expert had told us confidence is the purity of action produced by a mind free of doubt. And in that scrimmage, we saw it. But when we sat down with two of the Mystics' stars, Monique Curry and Crystal Langhorne, something unexpected happened. The clarity of that confidence we'd seen on the court started to blur. Both women spoke candidly about the inner struggles they face. Mo talked about how performance slumps can shake her belief in herself. Crystal shared how women tend to take losses personally, often burdening themselves with the weight of the entire team, unlike men who are more likely to shrug off bad games. What struck us was how often they compared themselves to male athletes, even unprompted. The emotional impact of criticism, the need to please, the hesitation to speak too harshly, the fear of failure, it was all there. Even Mo, the fiercest player on the court, admitted that confidence still wavers, especially when you're not the team's star. Their coach, Mike Thibault, one of the few men in the room and a former NBA coach, confirmed this pattern. He observed that female players often dwell longer on mistakes and carry emotional weight in ways that men simply don't. Male athletes, he said, restart faster. Mo agreed. Despite years of professional play, she still struggles to shake off a missed shot. Crystal added that her desire to please people can sometimes dilute her game. Mo summed it up bluntly, if you have a male attitude, swagger, you play better. This wasn't what we expected. We thought we'd found the purest form of female confidence, but even in elite sports, it was under siege, undermined by overthinking, perfectionism, and people-pleasing. If not here, where could we find true, lasting confidence? Confidence served with creme brulee. Christine Lagarde, the tall, silver-haired head of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, commands attention the moment she enters a room. Dressed in a refined dark tweed dress, she exudes poise and quiet power. As one of the most influential women in global finance, Lagarde has used her platform not only to guide the world's financial systems but also to push for greater female representation in leadership, not out of political correctness, but because she believes it strengthens the global economy. She earned her current position during a time of upheaval, stepping in after Dominique Strauss-Kahn was ousted over a scandal. Her calm, rational demeanor and intelligence helped restore order to the IMF and navigate the organization through turbulent times. Meeting Lagarde in person, the authors were struck by her regal presence and natural elegance. Despite her stature and success, she openly admitted to facing moments of self-doubt, especially earlier in her career when she struggled with public speaking or asserting herself. Her strategy to combat this was simple yet powerful: over-prepare. She and German Chancellor Angela Merkel even bonded over their shared habit of rigorously mastering every detail before meetings. Lagarde confessed that this tendency stemmed from an internalized belief that they might not naturally possess the expertise, what she recognized as part of the confidence issue many women face. Though she joked about how time-consuming this perfectionism can be, it underscored a deeper issue: the psychological burden many high-achieving women carry. Lagarde's story exemplifies the larger, more systemic confidence gap between men and women. Studies have repeatedly shown that women report significantly more self-doubt in the workplace than men. For instance, British research revealed that half of professional women question their performance, compared to just a third of men. Similar patterns appear in salary negotiations. Men are far more likely to negotiate and ask for more, while women tend to undervalue themselves. Data from university studies supports this too, showing that women consistently rate their abilities lower than men, even when their actual performance is nearly identical. This lack of self-belief leads many women to opt out of opportunities, believing they're not qualified or capable enough. The issue is further reinforced in daily interactions. Women often speak less in male-dominated environments and may hesitate to share ideas even when they're equally or more competent than their male peers. Across disciplines, from academia to business, women tend to underestimate themselves while men, bolstered by what researchers term honest overconfidence, overestimate their abilities. This confidence discrepancy becomes a key factor in career advancement. Employers notice it, but many male managers are unsure how to address it without seeming insensitive or sexist. The hesitation women exhibit even at senior levels can be enough to derail promotions or leadership opportunities. Ultimately, Lagarde's story and the supporting research reveal that the confidence gap is not just a personal issue but a systemic one, rooted in both cultural expectations and internalized beliefs. Her example is both inspiring and sobering. She shows that confidence and vulnerability can coexist and that even at the top, women may still feel the pressure to prove themselves more than their male counterparts. An even dirtier secret: the hidden doubts we often harbor and sometimes even feed must be confronted. Confidence is no longer a luxury or a side benefit, it's become the cornerstone of success. Many of us cling to the belief that meticulous work, perfectionism, and humility are what propel a career forward and that overconfidence can only lead to failure. However, research increasingly suggests the opposite. Cameron Anderson, a psychologist at UC Berkeley's Business School, has devoted his work to understanding overconfidence. In a 2009 study, he tested whether confidence or competence held more social value. He gave 242 students a list of historical names and events, some real, others cleverly fabricated like Queen Shattuck and Murphy's Last Ride, and asked which ones they recognized. Students who confidently selected the most fake entries weren't just overestimating their knowledge, they also turned out to have the highest social status among their peers. In Anderson's terms, this means they were the most respected, influential, and listened to members of the group even though they were the least accurate. These findings are unsettling, challenging the notion that talent alone is enough. In fact, Anderson insists that actual ability plays a minor role in how others perceive us. People who believe in their own skills, regardless of whether that belief is accurate, exude signals of confidence. They speak with calm assurance, use expansive body language, and take initiative in discussions. All these nonverbal cues cause others to defer to them. It's not necessarily what they know, but how sure they are of what they think they know. For women who often rely heavily on competence to prove their worth, this truth can be disheartening. Even more frustrating is the fact that overconfident individuals rarely suffer negative consequences. In Anderson's student groups, confidence, even when disconnected from actual ability, led to admiration, not rejection. This is because the confidence wasn't faked. The students genuinely believed in themselves. According to Anderson, fake confidence is easy to spot through subtle cues like nervous voice changes or eye movements, triggering our innate ability to detect insincerity. When asked if overconfident people might just be less intelligent or unaware of their shortcomings, Anderson acknowledged that they might be slightly less smart but emphasized that the level of overconfidence he studies is modest. He wasn't suggesting blind arrogance. After all, even a popular pilot must still land the plane. If the gap between perceived and real ability grows too large, overconfidence can indeed become a liability, but that's rarely a risk women face. Once we overcame the discomfort of realizing how unfair this dynamic can seem, we also recognized its practical value. For too long, women have misunderstood how the workplace really works. Competence isn't enough. Confidence is not just a byproduct of talent, it is part of talent itself. To succeed, one must possess both. A lack of confidence doesn't just hold us back professionally, it limits our potential entirely. Without it, we fail to see what roles we could play, the goals we could achieve, or the fulfillment we could experience. Confidence isn't just a professional asset, it's crucial to personal happiness and purpose. Scholars now regard it as essential for internal well-being and for achieving flow, a concept coined by psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi to describe a state of complete absorption and effortless productivity. Flow, or being in the zone, is only possible when confidence aligns with capability. To explore this deeper, more spiritual side of confidence, the authors visited a Buddhist meditation center, a quiet haven after their research in more competitive environments like sports arenas and military schools. Sharon Salzberg, a respected Buddhist teacher and author, was there leading a session. Surrounded by serene practitioners, the authors set aside their analytical questions and listened. When Salzberg addressed the topic of confidence, her words offered a fresh perspective. Confidence is the way we meet our circumstances, whether wonderful or difficult. It's like wholeheartedness. We're not holding back or fragmented. We're just going toward what's happening. Her description reframed confidence as an energetic, integrated part of being human, a force tied not just to achievement but to fulfillment. With that, the authors realized that they were collecting a range of insights pointing to a deeper understanding of confidence. Whether described as wholeheartedness, purity of action, or energy, all signs suggested that before going further, they needed to ask a simple but profound question: what is confidence, really? Chapter 2. Do more, think less. In their search to understand confidence, the authors encountered neuroscientist Adam Kepex, who, rather than studying humans, prefers rats. His reasoning is simple: rats are more straightforward. Unlike people, who often mask their true feelings behind layers of thoughts and emotions, rats respond instinctively. Kepex is particularly interested in what he calls statistical confidence, a basic, almost mechanical measure of how certain we are about a decision. His research reveals that this kind of confidence exists across species. Even rats, it turns out, exhibit decision-making behavior that reflects confidence. In his experiments, Kepex had rats sniff mixtures of odors and decide which scent dominated. Depending on their choice, they would indicate a response by poking their nose into one of two ports. If correct, they'd receive a drop of water, but only after a wait. The time the rats were willing to wait reflected their confidence. A confident rat would wait longer. This kind of risk-taking behavior revealed that confidence, in its most fundamental form, is about belief in the outcome of one's decision and the willingness to act on it. Kepex emphasized that he wasn't interested in whether the rats were correct, but how strongly they believed they were. This behavior was striking to the authors. Confidence, it seemed, wasn't just about feeling good or having swagger. It wasn't about proclaiming, "I can do this," nor about others telling you how great you are. Instead, confidence is tied to action, specifically the decision to act and to stick with that decision despite uncertainty. Kepex's work showed that confidence can be unconscious, elemental, and deeply rooted in the brain's decision-making areas, such as the orbitofrontal cortex. His rats demonstrated something akin to self-efficacy, a belief that their actions could produce a result. In humans, this might be as simple as reaching to turn off an alarm or more complex tasks requiring calculated decisions. Kepex explained that confidence has two sides. One is objective, the brain's calculation of certainty. The other is subjective, the feeling of confidence we consciously experience. While rats may not dwell on their decisions, humans often do. Our confidence is shaped not only by logic but also by emotion, social feedback, and internal dialogue. This is especially true for women, who, according to the authors, often experience a misalignment between their actual performance and how they perceive that performance. The authors reflected on their own experience taking part in Kepex's computer-based confidence experiments. Though they scored high both in accuracy and confidence, they still felt nervous and predicted they had done poorly. This dissonance between objective ability and subjective feeling illustrated a common issue for women. Even when they perform well and exhibit measurable confidence, they may still doubt themselves internally. This internal struggle appears less common in men and non-existent in rats. To explore this further, the authors visited a political training session at Georgetown University for young women. Hosted by the nonprofit Running Start, the program aimed to prepare college students to run for office. These women were articulate, intelligent, and passionate about social issues, but none raised their hand when asked if they felt confident about running for student government. Their reasons were telling. They feared being perceived as pushy, feared failure as a reflection of personal rejection, and internalized criticism much more than their male peers. These young women, despite being among the best and brightest, demonstrated that confidence is not just a matter of talent or drive. It's about self-belief. Jessica Grounds, co-founder of Running Start, noted that what these women needed most wasn't training in campaign strategy, it was confidence training. Without it, their ambition stalled. The problem wasn't skill, it was the unwillingness to act without certainty. The authors empathized deeply, recognizing the same tendencies in themselves, ruminating over small critiques and doubting their performance even in the face of success. Ultimately, this chapter suggests that confidence is not a magical, elusive trait but a skill that can be developed. Like Kepex's rats, we all make subconscious decisions based on perceived certainty. What matters is whether we act on them. For women in particular, breaking free of overthinking and embracing action, even without perfect certainty, might be the key to unlocking real confidence. 5-star confidence. Visiting one of the highest-ranking women in the U.S. military involves navigating layers of bureaucracy and formality, security checks, multiple escorts, and corridors lined with grandiose paintings of battles and portraits of almost entirely male generals. With a title as formal as Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, expectations were high and somewhat rigid. But when we finally met Major General Jessica Wright in her Pentagon office, she was surprisingly down-to-earth. The masculine decor, leather chairs, and dark wood stood in contrast to Wright's warm, inquisitive demeanor. She greeted us with ease, steering us toward the sofa and immediately breaking the ice with a few casual questions. What struck us most was her lack of pretension. She listened closely, was grounded, and completely unapologetic about her femininity. One of her top leadership tips? Enjoy getting your hair and nails done. Just because she works in a male-dominated world didn't mean she had to look or act like a man. Her boldness in owning her identity, right down to the blowouts and manicures, exuded authentic confidence. Wright was honest about her nerves too. When she took command of a combat brigade in 1997, the first woman to do so, she was so anxious she could barely breathe. Her mother taught her to be stoic, but inwardly, she felt like a spaghetti bowl of emotion. Still, she pushed forward, never letting nerves stop her. Despite her approachability, Wright also radiates grit. She makes quick decisions and expects the same from others. If I ask for your opinion and you're wishy-washy, I'm moving on, she told us. For her, leadership is about decisiveness and action. Her early experiences cemented this quality. As a young lieutenant, she once stood up to a superior who said he didn't like women in the military. You have an opportunity now to get over that, she told him, words that surprised even her but earned his respect and eventual mentorship. In every interaction, Wright didn't just talk about confidence, she lived it through boldness, honesty, action, and an ease with being herself. Life lessons on a keyboard. In trying to define confidence, we turned to psychologists only to find the answer was anything but simple. Most experts paused before answering, often starting with, well, it's complicated. Confidence, as psychologist Joyce Erlingo explained, is a vague and often overused term. Caroline Miller, a positive psychology coach, framed general confidence as an attitude and approach to life, while self-confidence was more specific, a belief in one's ability to master something. Brenda Major of UC Santa Barbara defined it in terms of certainty in one's skills, and Christy Glass of Utah State University emphasized that confidence is domain-specific. You might be confident as a speaker but not as a writer. Glass's insight helped clarify why confidence feels so fleeting. We have it in some areas and not in others. It explains how someone like tennis star Andre Agassi could dominate his sport while privately struggling with doubt. It also helps explain why many women feel assured in personal roles but insecure at work. Miller's idea of mastery also reshaped our thinking. While initially we feared the word implied unattainable perfection, she clarified that mastery is about the process and progress, not flawlessness. It's about working through challenges, developing skills, and building resilience, and confidence is the freebie that comes with it. Mastery's impact goes further, it's contagious. Master one thing and your confidence grows, making it easier to try the next. One of us, Katty, tested this firsthand when she decided to learn kiteboarding at age 40. The experience was full of tumbles, setbacks, and salty tears, but she persevered. Though not the graceful surfer chick she envisioned, she can now kitesurf and is seeking her next challenge. The real reward? The confidence built by sticking with something hard. Meet the confidence cousins. Meet the confidence cousins. As our understanding of confidence deepened, we discovered a tangle of related concepts: self-esteem, optimism, self-compassion, and self-efficacy. Often confused with confidence but fundamentally different. Self-esteem is about self-worth, the belief that you are a valuable and lovable person. Unlike confidence, which is tied to your belief in your ability to achieve specific goals, self-esteem is more stable and broad. It shapes how we see ourselves at a deep level and acts as a buffer against life's setbacks. High self-esteem and high confidence often coexist, especially when one's self-worth is based on abilities or achievements. However, if your sense of value stems from moral or spiritual beliefs rather than talent, the two may be less linked. Interestingly, the push for self-esteem has drawn criticism in recent years. For decades, schools and parents tried to build children's self-esteem by simply telling them they were special. But this everyone's a winner approach created adults who lacked real confidence because they were never challenged. Confidence, after all, comes not from praise but from doing and overcoming. In contrast, optimism is currently the more celebrated trait. Optimism, derived from the Latin optimum, is about expecting positive outcomes. It's not about your value or abilities but about how you interpret the world. Optimists tend to see opportunities, express gratitude, and believe that things will work out. This mindset doesn't necessarily inspire action, though. It's more about expectation than execution. As psychologist Nansuk Park noted, optimism is everything will work out, while confidence is I can make it work. Martin Seligman, founder of the positive psychology movement, redefined optimism to be more proactive. In his book Learned Optimism, he argued that optimism can be trained, particularly through effort, mastery, and setbacks. Optimistic people, in his view, believe they can change things, and that belief fuels confidence. Self-compassion. Self-compassion, a relatively new and evolving concept within the broader family of confidence, initially appears to echo the ideals of the 1960s rooted in the Buddhist principle of loving-kindness. While this idea was first championed by figures like Sharon Salzberg, it has been academically developed by Kristen Neff, a professor of educational psychology at the University of Texas. The core principle of self-compassion is simple yet profound. We should treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we extend to our friends. When a friend says, "I blew it," our instinct is to support, comfort, and encourage them. However, as Neff notes, many of us struggle to offer ourselves the same compassion, especially those who are highly empathetic toward others. Self-compassion also emphasizes a shared human experience. It reframes personal suffering and imperfections as a natural part of life rather than aberrations. In a world obsessed with success, failure can feel abnormal. But setbacks, whether a poor grade, a lost job, or a breakup, are fundamental aspects of being human. Recognizing this truth reduces shame and isolation, making it easier to move forward. At first, self-compassion may seem contradictory to confidence, which often emphasizes action and achievement. It might appear to promote complacency, encouraging people to accept failure without striving for improvement. But in reality, self-compassion supports confidence. It serves as a safety net that fosters resilience and motivation. Rather than making us lazy, it gives us the strength to take risks and try again, because failure doesn't become a devastating judgment, it becomes part of the process. As Neff points out, self-criticism is often mistaken for a motivator, but it actually fosters depression and inaction. By allowing ourselves to be average at times, self-compassion helps us break free from the exhausting cycle of comparison and perfectionism, making it easier to act, improve, and persevere. Self-efficacy. In contrast to self-compassion's nurturing tone, self-efficacy is the tougher, more pragmatic cousin in the confidence family. Introduced by psychologist Albert Bandura in 1977, self-efficacy refers to the belief in one's ability to succeed in specific situations. This belief shapes how we think, behave, and feel. It's a practical, results-oriented mindset that appeals to people with clear goals, whether it's losing weight, learning a new language, or earning a promotion. According to Bandura, self-efficacy is a critical driver of behavior change. Those with high self-efficacy view challenges as tasks to conquer, remain engaged, and bounce back from setbacks more quickly. The foundation of self-efficacy is mastery. By working hard and improving at something, we develop confidence in our ability to succeed. Some experts see self-efficacy as nearly synonymous with confidence, while others distinguish it as more goal-specific. It also overlaps with concepts like optimism and learned optimism, which are grounded in the belief that one can influence outcomes through effort. Regardless of terminology, self-efficacy aligns closely with action. It helps transform belief into results. The real thing. Contrary to the saying, "It's all in your head," confidence is not solely a mental construct. In fact, it requires stepping outside of your mind and into action. True confidence emerges when the internal voice of doubt is silenced by the evidence of your own achievements. One anecdote from Katty K, a journalist, illustrates this. In a high-pressure White House briefing, she initially hesitated to ask a question, fearing she'd appear uninformed. But when she finally forced herself to speak, she realized that not only was her question valid, it was as thoughtful as anyone else's. That act of pushing through fear became a template she could use again and again, reinforcing her confidence through action. The message is clear: confidence is rooted in doing. It grows from action, hard work, and persistence. Resilience, the ability to try again after failure, is crucial. The different cousins of confidence, like optimism, self-efficacy, self-esteem, and self-compassion, all support this process. Optimism fuels hope. Self-efficacy gives a belief in one's ability. Self-esteem ensures we see ourselves as valuable, and self-compassion helps us recover when we fail. These elements create a reinforcing loop where confidence grows through effort and even from setbacks. Confidence in action. Psychologist Richard Petty defines confidence as the stuff that turns thoughts into action. This simple phrase captures a profound truth. Confidence is what transforms intention into behavior. Other traits like courage, motivation, or intelligence also play roles in action, but confidence is the critical spark. It shapes our judgment about our capabilities and fuels the willingness to act. Whether we succeed or fail, the act of trying builds confidence further. One compelling example of this principle comes from a study by psychologist Zach Estes at the University of Milan. In a test involving spatial puzzles, women initially scored lower than men, not due to lack of ability, but because they were less likely to attempt the questions. When Estes required participants to answer every question, the performance gap disappeared. Moreover, when women were simply told they had performed well on a previous test, their scores improved significantly. This shows that even a small boost in confidence can dramatically affect performance. It also highlights how hesitation and fear of failure can lead to inaction, which in turn reinforces a false sense of inadequacy. Life's enabler. Ultimately, confidence is what enables us to live fully. It empowers us to write that book, apply for that promotion, or speak to someone new. Without confidence, desires remain unfulfilled, trapped in our heads by fear and self-doubt. While courage can push us to act despite risk, and ambition can drive us toward success, confidence is the foundation. It's the belief that we can achieve. It's what turns possibility into reality. Of course, we all wonder how much confidence is enough. Is overconfidence dangerous? Surprisingly, research suggests that a slight overestimation of our abilities is not only common but beneficial. According to neuroscientist Adam Kepex, a mild bias toward overconfidence helps us take risks and make decisions in uncertain situations. It's evolutionarily adaptive. We're better off leaning toward action than paralysis. Confidence, then, is not about perfection or guaranteed success. It's about believing in your ability enough to try. It's the missing link that propels us forward in our careers, relationships, and personal growth. And like any skill, it grows stronger the more we use it. Chapter 3. Wired for Confidence. The drive from Washington, D.C. to Western Maryland quickly led us into a peaceful, rural area dotted with red barns and horses grazing lazily. However, our destination held a fascinating experiment just down the road: a tribe of 300 rhesus monkeys, originally from Sri Lanka, living in Poolesville. These monkeys are part of a groundbreaking study led by neuropsychologist Steve Suomi from the National Institutes of Health (NIH). Suomi, a pioneer in the study of nature versus nurture, has spent over 40 years observing the behavior of these monkeys to understand human behavior. His laboratory in Maryland is dedicated to exploring the biology of personality with a 5-acre playground designed for the monkeys to interact in a natural setting. On this sunny day, the monkeys were active, swinging on bars and playing with each other. Suomi's research has revealed significant personality differences in the monkeys, ranging from well-adjusted individuals to those prone to anxiety, depression, and even autism. He has been focusing on discovering the origins of confidence with the belief that some individuals are simply born confident. These are the people who glide through life with ease, whether handling work, family, or travel. Suomi's work suggests that confidence might be ingrained in our biology, not solely shaped by upbringing. Suomi's studies have shown that some monkeys are born with a natural inclination toward confidence. These monkeys are less likely to suffer from anxiety and demonstrate resilient behaviors early in life. Through years of tracking the monkeys' behavior from birth, Suomi and his team have identified patterns that align with their genetic predispositions. For example, some monkeys are more socially active and take risks, while others are more withdrawn and anxious. The research has been particularly valuable because monkeys mature 4 times faster than humans, allowing Suomi to observe multiple generations and see long-term trends. The key to understanding this genetic basis of confidence lies in a gene known as SLC6A4, or the serotonin transporter gene, which affects serotonin levels in the brain. Serotonin plays a significant role in mood regulation, and the SLC6A4 gene comes in different variations that affect how well serotonin is processed. Some variations of the gene make individuals more prone to anxiety and depression, while others promote better serotonin regulation, leading to greater resilience and confidence. Suomi's research has found that monkeys with the more resilient versions of this gene exhibit more confident behaviors, such as taking risks and leading their groups. Suomi's findings have been reinforced by studies in humans, such as those conducted by Robert Plowman at King's College in London, who examined the genetic basis of confidence in twins. His research showed that confidence is highly heritable, with identical twins sharing similar confidence levels regardless of their environment. This suggests that, like intelligence, confidence is significantly influenced by genetics, with some studies estimating that up to 50% of our confidence may be inherited. The growing field of behavioral genetics is shedding light on the biological underpinnings of personality traits like confidence. Though researchers have yet to identify all the genes responsible for traits such as optimism and resilience, it's clear that our genetic makeup plays a large role in shaping our personalities. As research in this area progresses, we may one day be able to better understand the genetic factors that contribute to psychological well-being, including confidence. Fuel for action. In our exploration of confidence as a fuel for action, we sought to understand what triggers the brain into a confident mindset. Through our research, we discovered that several key neurotransmitters are essential in creating this state. Serotonin, a substance being studied by Suomi in his monkeys, is one of the primary players. Healthy serotonin levels in the prefrontal cortex help us make rational decisions as serotonin fosters calmness. The prefrontal cortex, often referred to as the brain's Yoda, governs executive function, rational thought, and decision-making. When serotonin is abundant in this region, it boosts confidence by alleviating stress and quieting the amygdala, the brain's fear-based center. This part of the brain, which triggers primal responses like fight or flight, can also heighten anxiety and depression in modern life. Serotonin helps balance the communication between the rational and emotional parts of our brain, calming fears. Oxytocin, often called the cuddle hormone, also plays a crucial role in confidence. Known for its link to affectionate behaviors like hugging, intimacy, and social bonding, oxytocin fosters optimism and positive attitudes, making it easier for individuals to take risks and act. Researchers like Shelley Taylor have highlighted oxytocin's connection to confidence, asserting that it helps with social interactions and reduces negative thinking. Taylor also identified 2 versions of the OX-STIR gene, which governs oxytocin delivery. One version correlates with lower social skills, stress responses, and optimism, while the other supports resilience, relaxation, and outgoing behaviors, suggesting a genetic influence on confidence. Dopamine is another neurotransmitter that sparks action, curiosity, and risk-taking. It drives exploration and ambition, with low dopamine levels linked to passivity and boredom. Two genes, COMT and DRD4, influence dopamine regulation. DRD4, often dubbed the adventure gene, encourages risk-taking behaviors seen in extreme athletes and thrill-seekers. COMT, the warrior/worrier gene, determines how quickly dopamine is cleared from the brain. Variations in COMT lead to differences in concentration, with some people thriving under stress due to a slower dopamine clearance, while others experience stress shutdown. This genetic complexity helps explain why confidence can vary in different situations, with some individuals thriving under pressure while others falter. Our research also led us to ponder the genetic underpinnings of our own confidence, sparking a curiosity about our DNA. For example, Claire felt she was high in oxytocin but low in serotonin, which she attributed to her anxiety and family history of depression. Katty, on the other hand, considered herself a warrior, someone who thrives on risk but might lack the warm, social traits associated with oxytocin. This prompted us to consider genetic mapping and the role of genetics in shaping confidence. We ultimately decided to take genetic tests through companies like 23andMe and Genomine to explore our genetic predispositions. While 23andMe offered broad genetic testing, including information about health risks and ancestry, Genomine focused on brain wellness and neuropsychiatry, offering personalized insights into which medications might be effective for conditions like anxiety. We were curious about the results, especially in terms of how they could illuminate our personal confidence-building traits, but we also wondered how we might react to discovering negative information about our genetic predispositions. Our research also led us to realize that confidence, like many traits, is shaped by both genetics and environmental influences. The nature versus nurture debate is now being replaced by the concept of how nature and nurture interact. Nurture, through life experiences, can significantly alter the expression of genes, even turning them on or off. This idea is central to the field of epigenetics, which studies how environmental factors affect gene expression. For example, stress can have an epigenetic impact, not only on individuals but also on their offspring. Research has shown that stressful events, like a traumatic experience during pregnancy, can affect the child's genetic makeup, potentially influencing their confidence and overall well-being. This emerging field of epigenetics underscores the malleability of traits like confidence, suggesting that while genetics provide a foundation, life experiences and choices play a significant role in shaping who we become. Scientists are uncovering how our behavior and mindset can physically alter our brain chemistry, with long-lasting effects on our confidence levels and, potentially, those of future generations. Strength through sensitivity. This section of the text explores the concept of genetic sensitivity and the powerful role the environment plays in shaping behavior, particularly with regard to confidence and resilience. Through Steve Suomi's research on rhesus monkeys, we see how environmental factors, especially early maternal care, can profoundly alter the trajectory of genetically predisposed anxious or resilient traits. The monkeys with sensitive genes, when raised in supportive environments, become more resilient, even excelling beyond their genetically resilient peers. The text introduces the idea of the orchid theory, which contrasts dandelions, genetically resilient individuals who thrive in many environments, with orchids, those more sensitive to environmental factors. While orchids may face more challenges, if nurtured properly, they have the potential to flourish in ways that dandelions may not. This theory applies to both children and adults, suggesting that people with certain genetic markers are more susceptible to the positive and negative influences of their environment. The idea of plasticity in the brain is central to the text, particularly brain plasticity's potential for personal transformation. The research indicates that, through focused mental exercises, individuals can alter their brain structure, promoting resilience and confidence even in adulthood. Meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, and other practices can encourage lasting changes in brain function, offering hope for individuals who may not have the genetic advantages that others do. In sum, this section highlights the dynamic interplay between genetic predispositions and the environment, emphasizing that confidence, resilience, and personal growth are not solely determined by biology but can be cultivated through deliberate effort and nurturing. The concept of brain plasticity suggests that it is never too late to reshape our minds and behaviors even after adulthood. Chapter 4. Dumb Ugly Bitches and Other Reasons Women Have Less Confidence. In the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, Maryland, young men use a degrading term for female students, calling them DUBs, which stands for Dumb Ugly Bitches. This term, which is disturbingly accepted by many of the male students, has become so pervasive that even some women use it, although it's clear from Michaela Bellata's experience that it's deeply hurtful. Despite the offensive nature of the term, Michaela tried to maintain composure, choosing her battles wisely in an environment where gender imbalance is systemic. This example underscores a larger issue. While genetics certainly play a role in confidence, the gap in confidence between men and women is significantly influenced by societal conditioning and external pressures. Such ingrained stereotypes are reflective of a history of gender inequality where women often have to contend with adversity that erodes their confidence both personally and professionally. Despite significant progress over the past 5 decades, the workplace still remains an uphill battle for women. This has been highlighted by statistics showing that women earn only 77 cents for every dollar a man makes, with only 4% of CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies being women. Even though women now outpace men in education, earning more undergraduate and graduate degrees and holding more PhDs, their representation in top leadership positions remains dismal. Studies, however, indicate that companies with a high percentage of women outperform their competitors, proving that when women are given equal opportunities, they excel. This is evident in the case of classical musicians. Women were once severely underrepresented in top symphonies, making up only 5% in 1970. By the 1990s, this number grew to 25% after orchestras introduced anonymous auditions, allowing candidates to be evaluated based purely on their musical skills rather than their gender. This example illustrates how when given a level playing field, women can achieve remarkable success. The gender gap in confidence is not merely a result of personal traits but is also shaped by an environment that imposes certain expectations on women from a young age. Girls are taught to be quiet, compliant, and well-behaved, especially in academic settings where they are encouraged to focus on being good students rather than assertive or competitive individuals. From early childhood, girls are rewarded for their ability to stay composed and follow rules, while boys are often praised for their energetic, adventurous behavior. This early reinforcement of good behavior may seem harmless but ultimately hampers the development of essential confidence-building skills such as risk-taking and learning from mistakes. Research shows that while boys tend to view failure as a challenge to overcome, girls often internalize mistakes and see them as evidence of their incompetence, which can severely damage their self-esteem and confidence. This difference in how boys and girls approach failure is particularly evident in academic and extracurricular settings. While boys are more likely to take risks and embrace competition, girls often shy away from situations where they might fail or be criticized. The lack of experience in handling competition and failure can leave women ill-prepared for the challenges they face in the workplace, where confidence, resilience, and self-promotion are often key to success. In fact, Carol Dweck, a renowned psychologist, suggests that if life were a perpetual grade school, women might excel, given their academic achievements and ability to conform to rules. However, once the rules change and the environment becomes more competitive and uncertain, many women find themselves struggling to adapt. Moreover, the skills needed for professional success often differ significantly from those emphasized in school. For example, assertiveness, competitive spirit, and self-promotion, traits commonly associated with male behavior, are often undervalued in women, even though they are crucial for career advancement. Research shows that while women excel in tasks that require precision, organization, and collaboration, they often find it more difficult to engage in the kind of self-promotion necessary to succeed in high-stakes environments. Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to President Obama, has noted that women are often taught to be self-deprecating and wait until they feel completely ready before asking for more responsibility or a promotion. She herself struggled with this mindset until a client encouraged her to ask for a promotion she didn't believe she deserved. This experience marked a turning point in her career and helped her overcome the internalized belief that she had to be perfect before advancing. These patterns are evident in the corporate world, where women often struggle to assert themselves in ways that men do more naturally. A friend of the author's who supervised a young female employee named Rebecca noticed how differently Rebecca behaved compared to her male counterpart, Robert. While Robert was eager to share his ideas and engage with his supervisor, Rebecca tended to be more reserved and cautious, often avoiding spontaneous input in meetings. Though Rebecca was highly prepared and diligent, she struggled with the feedback she received and took criticism more personally. In contrast, Robert would take criticism in stride, using it as a learning experience without letting it diminish his confidence. Despite Rebecca's talents and hard work, it was Robert's assertiveness and willingness to take risks that made him more visible to his supervisors, ultimately positioning him for career advancement. This dynamic is not isolated. Women often feel they must meet a higher standard of preparation and perfection, which can limit their willingness to take risks and put themselves forward for opportunities. This creates a cycle where women hesitate to take bold steps, fearing that any misstep could confirm their insecurities. However, this reluctance to act can hold them back professionally. The fear of failure and criticism leads many women to avoid stepping into the limelight, even when they possess the skills and knowledge to succeed. As the examples of women like Valerie Jarrett and Della, who confidently raised her hand in class despite not having all the answers, demonstrate, embracing risk-taking and assertiveness is essential for building confidence and seizing opportunities. In conclusion, the gender confidence gap is deeply rooted in societal norms, early childhood education, and workplace dynamics. Women are conditioned from a young age to value compliance over risk-taking, which undermines their confidence and preparedness for the competitive world. To close this gap, it's crucial to encourage women to embrace assertiveness, take risks, and learn from their failures. Whether through advocating for themselves in the workplace or engaging in more competitive activities like sports, women must unlearn the ingrained behaviors that hold them back and embrace the power of self-promotion and resilience. Only then can they truly achieve their full potential and level the playing field with men in all areas of life. Same game, different standards. The discussion centers around the challenges women face regarding self-confidence, particularly in professional environments where societal standards and expectations play a significant role. In a world where confidence is often valued, women find themselves caught in a double bind. For instance, if a woman like Rebecca in the example were to exhibit self-assuredness similar to Robert, she could face serious social and professional penalties. Research reveals that women who display behaviors deemed assertive or dominant, such as offering unsolicited opinions or taking the floor in meetings, are frequently labeled negatively, even with terms like bitch. This is a stark contrast to how similar behaviors are received in men. As women ascend in their careers, this penalty grows harsher, and their competence is often called into question, not just their actions. These biases are reflected in political campaigns and studies of leadership roles where women are criticized based on their perceived emotional traits rather than their skills. Further research, like that conducted by Victoria Breskel at Yale, shows that women in leadership positions consciously downplay their assertiveness to avoid negative judgments. While men tend to speak more as they rise in rank, women tend to hold back in fear of being seen as domineering or unlikable. Studies also reveal that both men and women are prejudiced against women who speak too much in professional settings, considering them less competent than their male counterparts. This stereotype threat, the pressure to conform to negative stereotypes about women, further contributes to the professional isolation women experience. This becomes even more complex for women of color like Tanya Koch, who carry the additional weight of battling assumptions based on both gender and race. Even successful women in top positions, such as Linda Hudson, admit to feeling this unspoken prejudice, where men are often assumed competent by default, while women have to prove themselves constantly. Another significant factor that impacts women's confidence is their relationship with physical appearance. Society's focus on beauty standards disproportionately affects women's self-esteem. Studies show that women, particularly young girls, are more likely to be dissatisfied with their appearance, with many wishing to change aspects of it. The impact of physical appearance extends beyond personal insecurities to professional disadvantages. For example, overweight women are often viewed as less competent and less organized compared to their male counterparts. On the other hand, overweight men can be seen as powerful or authoritative. This societal double standard places an unfair burden on women to conform to beauty standards even at the cost of their professional and personal growth. Moreover, women often self-sabotage their confidence. Traits like the need to be liked or the fear of criticism can prevent women from advocating for themselves, both in negotiations and in voicing their ideas. The fear of making others upset or being disliked can lead to lower salary offers and missed opportunities for career advancement. The reluctance to ask for higher wages, for instance, leads to a significant pay gap between men and women early in their careers. Overthinking and excessive self-criticism also plague women, as they are more prone to rumination than men. This tendency to overanalyze not only affects their emotional well-being but also hinders their ability to take action and build confidence. Finally, these patterns of self-doubt and overthinking affect women's professional lives, where they are more likely to dwell on their mistakes or perceived shortcomings. Managers like Linda Hudson notice that women often struggle to move past setbacks and are more self-reflective than their male colleagues, which can be a barrier to career progression. In personal life, this propensity to overthink extends to relationships and everyday decisions, often undermining confidence in ways that men are less likely to experience. This cycle of self-criticism and second-guessing keeps women from stepping into their power, leading to missed opportunities and stunted confidence. The external pressures and internalized habits that women face create a complicated web of challenges to their confidence. From societal expectations around behavior to the way physical appearance impacts their professional standing, women are often caught between cultural standards and their own need for validation. To overcome these obstacles, women must not only challenge external biases but also work on changing self-sabotaging tendencies that limit their growth. This passage examines how women tend to internalize failure and avoid credit for their successes, while men often externalize setbacks and credit themselves for their achievements. This difference in how success and failure are perceived plays a critical role in shaping self-confidence. Psychologist Dave Dunning provides an example from Cornell's math PhD program, where men, when faced with challenging courses, acknowledge the difficulty of the task itself, preserving their confidence. In contrast, women often attribute their struggles to a lack of ability, which can harm their self-esteem. This internalization of failure leads women to feel inadequate, while men are more likely to try again, undeterred by the setback. Victoria Breskel highlights a similar trend in job hunting. Men tend to blame external factors like the job market when they don't get a position, while women are more likely to blame themselves. This self-critical pattern weakens confidence and often discourages further attempts. Perfectionism, however, is perhaps the most debilitating factor when it comes to women's confidence. Setting impossibly high standards can prevent women from taking action, as they feel they must be perfectly prepared before trying something new. This leads to procrastination and uncompleted tasks, further diminishing confidence. Research suggests that perfectionism is more prevalent in women, extending beyond work and into various areas of life, such as motherhood and friendships. While the pursuit of perfection can stifle productivity, it often results in unfinished projects and wasted time. Professor Breskel shares her own struggle with perfectionism, noting how it affects her academic work and submission of papers. Male colleagues who are less concerned with perfection tend to submit their work more quickly and in greater volume, which can be more effective in the long run. Despite these obstacles, there are ways to overcome them. Breskel herself has learned that putting work out there without obsessing over perfection leads to progress. Rejection, instead of discouragement, becomes a valuable opportunity for growth and improvement, fostering mastery and self-assurance. The passage also discusses the role of biological differences in shaping confidence. While men and women have largely similar brain structures, some studies point to subtle differences that may influence behavior. Women tend to have more white matter, which helps integrate information, while men have more gray matter, useful for isolated problem solving. Women's brains also tend to show more activity in areas related to empathy, intuition, and collaboration, but this can also make them more prone to anxiety and overthinking, which can harm confidence. Additionally, women have a larger cingulate gyrus, the area of the brain associated with decision-making and worrying. This may explain why women tend to be more cautious and prone to overanalyzing situations, but it can also contribute to stress and self-doubt. In sum, while biological differences exist, many of the factors influencing women's confidence are within their control. By addressing perfectionism, changing internal narratives, and developing resilience, women can overcome these challenges and build stronger self-assurance. This section explores how testosterone and estrogen play pivotal roles in shaping confidence, highlighting the hormonal differences between men and women. Testosterone is often linked to the classic male traits of confidence, competitiveness, and risk-taking. Men, after puberty, have about 10 times more testosterone than women, which drives their focus on winning, demonstrating power, and taking risks. Research, particularly a study involving stock traders, shows that higher testosterone levels correlate with riskier decisions. When traders made successful, risky trades, their testosterone levels spiked, creating a feedback loop of increased confidence and more aggressive decisions, known as the winner effect. However, this heightened confidence can also lead to dangerous overconfidence, where individuals may take fatal risks due to an inability to recognize the potential consequences of their actions. Additionally, testosterone is linked to a sense of power and dominance. Studies have shown that when women adopt traditionally male power poses, such as sitting with legs and arms spread, their testosterone levels rise and they feel more confident. On the flip side, testosterone is also associated with a lack of empathy and collaboration, as it encourages more egocentric behavior. Estrogen, on the other hand, has a contrasting effect. It is the primary hormonal driver for women, encouraging bonding, connection, and communication. While this may sometimes hinder assertive actions and result in more cautious decision-making, it also offers significant advantages in other areas. For instance, female hedge fund managers have been shown to perform better than their male counterparts, especially in situations that require long-term strategies and less risky trades. Estrogen supports women's natural ability to process emotions and make careful judgments, which can lead to better outcomes in environments that value emotional intelligence and risk aversion. However, this cautious nature can also lead to overthinking and indecision, as women's brains are often wired to process information more thoroughly. Understanding these hormonal influences offers insight into the confidence differences between men and women, helping to frame behaviors that might otherwise be viewed as weaknesses. The text suggests that women's tendency to avoid conflict and take fewer risks isn't inherently negative. It's a biological trait that can be harnessed for success. Recognizing the science behind confidence can empower individuals to embrace their natural instincts, whether it's a tendency toward caution or a drive for competition. By acknowledging these hormonal influences, people can approach their behaviors with self-compassion, understanding that these tendencies are not flaws but rather aspects of their biological makeup. This knowledge fosters greater awareness and mastery over the ways hormones shape our actions, making it easier to leverage them in building confidence and achieving success. The risky business of testosterone. This section explores how testosterone and estrogen play pivotal roles in shaping confidence, highlighting the hormonal differences between men and women. Testosterone is often linked to the classic male traits of confidence, competitiveness, and risk-taking. Men, after puberty, have about 10 times more testosterone than women, which drives their focus on winning, demonstrating power, and taking risks. Research, particularly a study involving stock traders, shows that higher testosterone levels correlate with riskier decisions. When traders made successful, risky trades, their testosterone levels spiked, creating a feedback loop of increased confidence and more aggressive decisions, known as the winner effect. However, this heightened confidence can also lead to dangerous overconfidence, where individuals may take fatal risks due to an inability to recognize the potential consequences of their actions. Additionally, testosterone is linked to a sense of power and dominance. Studies have shown that when women adopt traditionally male power poses, such as sitting with legs and arms spread, their testosterone levels rise, and they feel more confident. On the flip side, testosterone is also associated with a lack of empathy and collaboration, as it encourages more egocentric behavior. Estrogen, on the other hand, has a contrasting effect. It is the primary hormonal driver for women, encouraging bonding, connection, and communication. While this may sometimes hinder assertive actions and result in more cautious decision-making, it also offers significant advantages in other areas. For instance, female hedge fund managers have been shown to perform better than their male counterparts, especially in situations that require long-term strategies and less risky trades. Estrogen supports women's natural ability to process emotions and make careful judgments, which can lead to better outcomes in environments that value emotional intelligence and risk aversion. However, this cautious nature can also lead to overthinking and indecision, as women's brains are often wired to process information more thoroughly. Understanding these hormonal influences offers insight into the confidence differences between men and women, helping to frame behaviors that might otherwise be viewed as weaknesses. The text suggests that women's tendency to avoid conflict and take fewer risks isn't inherently negative. It's a biological trait that can be harnessed for success. Recognizing the science behind confidence can empower individuals to embrace their natural instincts, whether it's a tendency toward caution or a drive for competition. By acknowledging these hormonal influences, people can approach their behaviors with self-compassion, understanding that these tendencies are not flaws but rather aspects of their biological makeup. This knowledge fosters greater awareness and mastery over the ways hormones shape our actions, making it easier to leverage them in building confidence and achieving success. Chapter 5: The New Nurture. Jane's mother walked her to school on her first day of class, with a key to their front door tied around Jane's neck on a string. Jane knew that at the end of the day, she would have to make the same journey home alone, unlock the door, and wait for her older sister to return. Terrified at the thought of something going wrong, she remembers crying. But she made it, and after that first day, she repeatedly made the solo journey. She was just 4.5 years old. By the time she was 6, Jane was in Girl Scouts, already confident that she would be a leader because she had already faced difficult challenges. My mother didn't show me any fear. She just said she knew I could do it and find my way home. Jane reflects now. It was doing hundreds of those small things that built my confidence as an adult. You're not born with it. You build it. She built that confidence herself. When we first heard this story, we were shocked. Alone at 4.5? Anything could have happened. But perhaps this was the right kind of parenting. It began to dawn on us that real confidence is built through a radically different type of nurturing, one that goes beyond praise, love, and making things easy. It requires more than striving for perfection and good grades. Jane's mother's approach may have been one of the key ingredients that helped her develop the strong confidence she has today. Now, as the founder of the global skincare company Dermalogica, Jane Warwin's confidence led her to take significant risks, like investing her own $14,000 savings into a company that would eventually become a multi-million-dollar brand with offices all over the world. As she humbly says, not bad for a girl with only a beauty school diploma from a small town in England. Christine Lagarde had a similar experience. At the age of 4, she was expected to babysit her younger brothers. Her parents, living in Le Havre, France, would simply tell her, "We're going out. Look after the others." One particular evening, when her parents didn't return until much later, Christine turned on all the lights and kept herself calm by reading a book in her brother's room. When they finally returned, she simply said, "Well, you're a bit late." Today, Lagarde, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, laughs at the thought of her parents leaving her in charge at such a young age. But she believes the lack of overprotectiveness helped her build the confidence to face life's challenges. This trend continued into her teenage years, when her mother sent her off alone to hitchhike 6 hours to visit friends. And at 20, she traveled to America by herself. My parents equipped me with that sort of sense of "you can do it." While we're not advocating for leaving young children in charge, these stories illustrate the new form of nurturing, one that embraces responsibility, challenges, and the ability to handle adversity. Today's parenting, shaped by the self-esteem movement, often rewards children for everything, which results in flimsy confidence. Kids are protected from failure, leading to an inflated sense of self-worth that can be quickly shattered when faced with the real world. As psychologist Richard Petty explains, in the past, confidence was built through trial and error. Now, however, many children are given praise they haven't earned because they've been shielded from failure and risk. When they encounter reality, they may falter, revealing the fragility of their confidence. To truly develop confidence, it requires hard work, risk-taking, persistence, and sometimes failure. Exposure to challenges is essential. Confidence is built by pushing yourself, facing setbacks, and learning to get back up. According to Nansuk Park, a psychologist at the University of Michigan, children should be gradually exposed to risk, but not in a traumatic way. They should be taught how to do things and given opportunities to succeed or fail with a focus on what they can learn from their experiences. Failure is an inevitable part of growth. It is crucial for building resilience. Without failure, confidence lacks depth. Psychologist Chris Peterson suggests that a constructive approach to failure, emphasizing what worked and how to improve, builds real confidence. In many cultures, especially in Asia, embracing adversity is seen as essential for building confidence. Elaine Chao, the former U.S. Labor Secretary, believes that Western culture could learn from the Eastern emphasis on resilience. Chao's childhood, filled with challenges and responsibility, shaped the confidence she holds today. Growing up in a tough environment, Chao had to take on the responsibility of helping her parents and 5 sisters. She credits these experiences for her strength and confidence. Some adversity, if it doesn't break you, makes you stronger, she says. As mothers, we struggle with this tough love approach, especially when it comes to our own children. Though we understand the importance of failure and resilience, our instincts often make it hard to let go. Claire, for example, found it difficult to watch her son fail at baseball and struggled as her daughter faced soccer losses. But over time, she learned to embrace the struggles and failures, helping her children develop their own resilience. Patty Solis Doyle also learned the value of taking risks and accepting failure. After being fired from managing Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, she was initially devastated. But with time, she came to see the experience as invaluable, helping her build resilience and guiding her to launch a successful financial startup, which she later sold for a significant profit. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, she reflects. Ultimately, the path to lasting confidence is not about avoiding failure, but about learning how to handle it, growing from it, and building the resilience to take on even bigger challenges. The talent myth. The foundation for risk, failure, perseverance, and ultimately confidence is a way of thinking, one that Stanford psychology professor Carol Dweck has brilliantly defined as a growth mindset. Her research shows that the most successful and fulfilled people always believe they can improve and learn new things. Dweck has found that many women view their abilities as fixed, either they're good at math or they're not. This belief extends to other challenges that women may be less likely to take on, such as leadership, entrepreneurship, public speaking, asking for raises, financial investment, or even parking. In contrast, men tend to believe that they can learn almost anything. Confidence thrives on a growth mindset because the belief that skills can be learned leads to trying new things, taking risks, and being resilient in the face of failure. Dweck's research suggests that this mindset is particularly effective in boosting the confidence of adolescent girls. A growth mindset allows us to view failures as essential learning experiences. Katty realized that this way of thinking had been missing from her own approach. I always thought there were things I was good at, like languages and child-rearing, and things I wasn't, like business, athletics, and anything involving a ball. My biggest regret is not being entrepreneurial. I've always admired those who start businesses, but I've never had the confidence to try. It's not that I thought I wouldn't be good at it, I thought I'd be terrible at it, that I wasn't a natural business person. But now, reading Dweck's work, I realized that the only way to build confidence in this area is to try. And I now see this as a skill I can develop rather than something I'm innately good at or not. To cultivate a growth mindset, start small. The way we praise ourselves or others can reinforce either a fixed or growth mindset. If we praise someone by saying, "You're so smart" or "You're a natural at tennis," we reinforce a fixed mindset. On the other hand, praising effort, "You worked so hard on your backhand in tennis," encourages a growth mindset. Understanding the difference between talent and effort is crucial. If we believe that talent is something we are born with and cannot change, we may feel that we can't improve in areas where we struggle. But when we see success as a result of effort and improvement, we understand that it's something we can control and actively work on. This leads to mastery and aligns with the Asian Gaman approach to resilience and perseverance. For Chow, in the workplace, that means encouraging people, especially women, to push themselves to take on tasks they might feel are beyond their reach, such as leadership positions. Reaching the next level in any career may be intimidating, but it's important not to let fear hold you back. Every leadership position is a stretch, says Chow. No one thinks they're born a leader, but we should encourage women to stretch more. The softer side of munitions. There was always something different about me, says Linda Hudson, the first woman to lead a major defense company. Before becoming CEO of BAE Systems, she was the first female president of General Dynamics and the first female vice president at Martin Marietta. In a field known for its masculinity, Hudson stood out. "We make munitions and tanks," she quips. Hudson's journey reflects the reality that every highly successful woman has had to embrace her uniqueness. Rather than letting isolation or stereotypes undermine her, Hudson chose to wear her differences as a badge of honor. Caroline Miller, author and psychologist, emphasizes that embracing individuality is essential to building confidence. Confidence comes from stepping out of your comfort zone and working toward goals that are rooted in your own values and needs, she says. Miller's own journey from struggling with bulimia to becoming a leading figure in positive psychology illustrates how developing a sense of self, not just achievement, leads to confidence. Linda Hudson's parents didn't try to mold her into a typical girly girl. Instead, they nurtured her confidence by encouraging her to be herself. Hudson describes herself as a street fighter who preferred basketball over ballet and math over other subjects. Her parents taught her the value of learning and gave her the confidence to dream big. "When I faced a setback, they were the ones who would send me back into the world." Suppress the siren call of praise. While compliments can be uplifting, too much reliance on external praise can undermine self-confidence. Research by Ohio State University psychologist Jennifer Crocker found that individuals who base their self-worth on others' approval experience more stress and are more prone to issues like drug abuse and eating disorders. In contrast, those who build their confidence from internal sources such as their own values or moral code tend to perform better academically and experience lower levels of substance abuse. Confidence built on external praise is fragile. Even the most celebrated and accomplished individuals can't receive constant validation, so it's crucial to cultivate confidence from within. For example, a concert pianist who only values praise from critics and fans will struggle if that praise diminishes. However, someone who finds satisfaction in their own hard work and achievements will maintain a more resilient confidence. Katty recognized this when her daughter Maya developed a strong sense of self. Maya's stubbornness to follow her own timetable, even when Katty and others tried to persuade her otherwise, became a strength. Maya's confidence was rooted in her ability to trust her own judgment, even if it frustrated those around her. Kirsten Gillibrand, a U.S. Senator from New York, is another example of someone who developed her confidence over time. Despite her current high-profile career, she admits that she lacked confidence when she first considered running for office. It was only after years of volunteering, taking night classes, and working to overcome her self-doubt that she gained the confidence to take on leadership roles. Many of the women we interviewed, like Jane Warwind, Christine Lagarde, and Elaine Chao, learned confidence early in life through the responsibilities placed on them by their parents. However, as Gillibrand's story shows, it's never too late to build confidence through hard work, persistence, and facing challenges head-on. During our research for this book, we made several surprising discoveries. We didn't anticipate uncovering a clear genetic link to confidence, nor did we expect the confidence gap to be as significant as it is. We also didn't realize that female brains might function differently on a physiological level. One belief we held, that confidence is largely shaped in childhood, turned out to be incorrect. What we didn't expect was how frustrating it could be to try and nurture confidence in our children. Our most encouraging revelation, however, is that confidence is something we can actively control. At any point in our lives, we can choose to build more confidence, just as Senator Gillibrand did. The science behind how new behaviors and thought patterns can literally rewire our brains is truly fascinating. Laura and Petitto explained how we can create new pathways around the fixed structure of our genetic makeup, which is influenced by our upbringing. Psychologists like Caroline Miller argue that our ability to cultivate traits like confidence may be as much as 50% within our control. This means that as adults, we can make the decision to develop confidence, put in the work, and see results. This idea of confidence being a choice opens up countless possibilities. Everyone faces moments of doubt, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it at some point. We've all heard things like, my mother didn't praise me enough, or no one in my family is confident. But when we attribute confidence solely to genetics or circumstances, we close ourselves off to the potential for change. Confidence isn't just something you're born with or given, it's something you can create by pushing yourself into action even in environments that feel dominated by others. But there's a catch, you don't just choose confidence and then wait for life to magically transform. It's not as simple as ticking a box to add self-confidence to your list of qualities. Confidence requires effort, it's a deliberate, ongoing process. And if you let up, if you don't put in the work to expand your confidence, that idealized version of yourself may never come into focus. Think about the work of psychologist Zachary Estes, who conducted computerized spatial tests with men and women. His findings couldn't be clearer or more relevant. The women had the same ability as the men to complete the tests, but what held them back was their decision not to try. When faced with difficult questions, the women doubted themselves and hesitated. The men, on the other hand, didn't hesitate, they just went for it. Choosing not to act significantly reduces the chance of success. But when we do act, we often succeed more than we realize. How many times in life have we avoided taking action because we feared failure? Is failure truly worse than inaction? And how many times could we have succeeded if we had just taken the plunge? In reality, it's not usually a lack of competence that holds us back. It's our skewed perception of our abilities. It's as though we're using an unreliable forecasting tool that doesn't provide accurate readings. When we give in to negative beliefs about ourselves, we avoid challenges we could easily handle, preventing us from learning and growing. But we have the power to recalibrate our confidence compass, which will ultimately reshape our perceptions and willingness to take risks. So yes, as Sheryl Sandberg emphasizes, we need to lean in. We need to act instead of holding back. And this, as we now understand, requires us to work in ways that push us to confront our instincts and step beyond our comfort zones. Chapter 6: Failing Fast and Other Confidence-Boosting Habits. A close friend of ours, an internet genius and startup wizard, gave us 2 words when we asked for advice on building confidence: fail fast. At the time, we laughed at the idea. Failure, to us, was something to be avoided, and the thought of doing it quickly seemed to imply we hadn't put in enough effort or done our work perfectly. We even shuddered at the thought. However, he wasn't joking. Fail fast is a well-known tech term and, more importantly, a popular business strategy. The concept is simple. Instead of striving for perfection, rapidly produce several prototypes, release them, and see which one succeeds, discarding the rest. In today's world, perfection takes too long and costs too much. Failing fast allows for constant testing and adjustments so you can quickly pivot toward what works. The benefit of failing fast is that you risk less. Typically, these failures are smaller rather than monumental, and you gain valuable insights along the way. We've come to view failing fast as the ideal method for building female confidence. Not only is it more appealing than traditional failure, but it also feels modern and even profitable. It's a manageable, bite-sized approach to failure. By failing repeatedly in small ways, we stop obsessing over our potential shortcomings and worst-case scenarios. Instead, we take action rather than analyzing every detail of a plan. When we embrace failure as progress, we can focus on another essential confidence skill: mastery. These small failures allow us to be more selective about where we invest our time and energy. We no longer need to perfect everything. Much of it will end up in the trash. Remember, survival doesn't belong to the strongest, it belongs to the most adaptable. After hearing our techie friend's advice, Claire decided to dip her toes into the water of failure. One thing I've always wanted to do, she shared, was give a speech without notes, just speak off the cuff, like Oprah or Bill Clinton. I figured this could help me connect better with the audience and harness more of my energy. The fail fast concept inspired me to give it a try. So, she left half her speech unscripted. The result? It was a challenge. Her delivery was meandering, full of umps, and not as clear as it could have been. But she learned something important. She wasn't comfortable with a totally blank page. Next time, she plans to use a list of key points to guide her. Confidence, as we've stated over and over again, is built through action. It takes repeated attempts, calculated risk-taking, and a shift in mindset. It's not enough to just stand tall and expect confidence to magically appear. While some old-fashioned advice, like standing up straight, can help, it's not enough on its own. New research has provided fresh, unexpected insights on how to build confidence, some of which we didn't believe until we tried them ourselves. And they work. Step outside your comfort zone. If you remember just one thing from this book, let it be this: act when in doubt. Every piece of research we've encountered and every interview we've conducted has led to the same conclusion. Nothing builds confidence like taking action, especially when it involves risk and failure. Risk keeps you on the edge of life. It forces growth, improvement, and confidence. On the other hand, living within a predictable comfort zone can quickly become boring and stagnant. Taking action sets apart the timid from the bold. It's okay to start small. If meeting new people makes you nervous, begin by taking small steps. Pass snacks at a party and introduce yourself, or make eye contact and start a conversation with a stranger. If you're not confident going to parties alone, begin with a small gathering where you'll know a few people and work your way up to larger events where you'll meet new people. If asking for a promotion feels daunting, rehearse the conversation with a trusted friend. Small steps prepare you to take bigger risks, which is known as the exposure technique. For many women, risk can also take less obvious forms. It might mean allowing yourself to be imperfect, challenging authority, or simply learning to be comfortable when you're the center of attention. Once you've mastered these smaller risks, you can take on larger ones, like questioning a colleague's opinion or applying for a challenging job. Sometimes, the most significant risks aren't physical, they involve decision-making. Confident women tend to make decisions quickly, even when those decisions might not be perfect. Beth Wilkinson, a top litigator and assistant U.S. attorney, demonstrated this perfectly when she shared an early experience where she struggled with reading her opening argument verbatim in a case. Later, when a colleague criticized her performance, she took it as a lesson. She learned that it was better to connect with the jury than to focus on delivering a flawless statement. From that moment on, she never read a closing argument again. Failing fast and making mistakes can lead to rapid growth. It also provides an opportunity for self-compassion, acknowledging that imperfection is part of being human. Practicing self-compassion is more helpful than traditional self-esteem because it centers on accepting our weaknesses. Instead of saying, "I'm not a failure," it's more helpful to say, "I do fail sometimes, and that's okay." It's about extending the same kindness to yourself that you would to a friend. Stop ruminating, rewire your thinking. Women often struggle with overthinking, which is a significant obstacle to confidence. We tend to dwell on the wrong things, imagining worst-case scenarios that freeze us in place. But thinking harder won't solve problems or build confidence, it only stifles action. Take, for example, neuroscientist Laura Petitto. Despite being a leader in her field, she struggled with ruminating about her fear of public speaking. After a difficult day, she would replay perceived mistakes in her mind. She realized this mental habit was unproductive, so she set a goal to counteract it. Now, when negative thoughts arise, she consciously recalls 3 things she did well that day, like finishing a paper or having a productive conversation with a colleague. This simple mental exercise can rewire your brain over time. By becoming aware of how your thoughts, emotions, and actions interconnect, you can start to break the negative feedback loop. Conquering negative automatic thoughts, NATs. Negative automatic thoughts, NATs, are a major confidence killer. These thoughts tend to spiral out of control, creating an endless loop of negativity. For example, "That dress was too expensive," or "I'll never finish this project." You can't just erase these thoughts, but you can challenge them. A good starting point is to keep a journal of your negative thoughts. Writing them down makes them less powerful. Then try to counter each negative thought with an alternative interpretation. For instance, I'm not efficient could become maybe I'm doing a good job managing multiple things. Over time, this reframing becomes a habit. And if you're struggling to come up with a positive alternative, imagine how you would respond if a friend shared a similar thought. By changing how you engage with these thoughts, you can start to shrink their influence. Remember, your attention is a powerful tool. Focus it on positivity, and it will propel you toward action. From me to we, it might seem like focusing more on yourself is the way to build confidence. Don't we need to focus on ourselves to succeed and feel good? However, the opposite is often true, especially for women. Overthinking our feelings and abilities, constantly judging ourselves, and making ourselves the center of our own drama can actually hold us back. Picture this scenario. How would you behave in an emergency situation where you need to save a child? There's no time for self-doubt or hesitation. You wouldn't worry about whether you're qualified or if you need more training before jumping into action. Your focus would be entirely on resolving the crisis, and you'd perform confidently without a second thought. Now, apply this mindset to your own challenges. If you have an important event coming up, it's natural to obsess over every little detail, how you'll look, what you'll say, how to handle every possible situation. However, this overthinking doesn't help you perform your best. Instead, focus on how your actions will benefit your team or company. This shift in focus will free you to be bold and assertive, allowing you to shift the spotlight away from yourself. Psychologist Jenny Crocker from OSU has found that women thrive when they focus on we instead of me. She discovered that young female graduates whose confidence tends to be shaky gain a surprising boost when they focus on serving their colleagues or the organization rather than proving themselves. She also suggests a powerful tip for nervous public speakers: reframe your perspective. Tell yourself you're speaking on behalf of the team or for the greater good rather than focusing on your own performance. Shifting the focus from yourself to others can help you feel more confident. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand uses similar strategies to encourage women to run for Congress. She emphasizes that it's about helping those in need, not about self-promotion. Once a candidate realizes this, especially a woman, they become more purpose-driven and confident. It's not personal. It's easier to shift from me to we when you realize that most people aren't constantly focused on you. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking everyone is paying attention to your every move, whether it's a success or a failure. But the truth is, most people are preoccupied with their own lives and have already moved on from your momentary mistakes. When things go wrong, whether it's failing to get elected class president or making a mistake in a meeting, don't assume people are talking behind your back. They likely haven't given it a second thought. When you encounter a problem at work, remind yourself that the issue is about the work itself, not about you personally. If your boss critiques a project you've been working on, resist the urge to take it as an attack on you. Similarly, if a colleague asks about your weekend without enthusiasm, it's not necessarily a criticism. It's egotistical to assume the worst, thinking she's angry because I didn't include her suggestion, or he thinks I'm incompetent because I haven't set up that meeting. Instead, try thinking they're probably busy with their own tasks. In some professions, such as performing arts, criticism is constant. Chrysaline Petropoulos, an opera singer and voice coach, shared how being overly sensitive to feedback nearly ruined her career. She realized that viewing criticism as directed at her skills rather than her personal worth allowed her to improve and thrive. She teaches her students to handle critiques with gratitude, responding with phrases like, "Thank you for saying that," or "I'll try to do better." These simple responses help you avoid personalizing feedback, a habit that can damage confidence. When we should star in our own production, women often seem to have a tendency to highlight our flaws and insecurities while avoiding credit for our successes. There are definitely moments when we need to focus on ourselves and take credit for our accomplishments. It's essential to recognize your own value and celebrate your achievements. While it may feel more comfortable to be self-deprecating, this can undermine your confidence in the long run. When you downplay your accomplishments, you not only diminish how you see yourself, but also how others perceive you. Employers want winners, and they appreciate hearing about your successes. If you fail to acknowledge your own achievements, you may find it harder to reach for new goals in the future. It's important to accept compliments and own your successes rather than dismiss them or downplay them with self-deprecating remarks. A simple response like, "Thank you. I appreciate that," can feel odd at first, but it's an empowering practice that boosts confidence. Both authors reflect on how ingrained their habits of self-deprecation were even in their writing process. A colleague pointed out their tendency to downplay their achievements in the manuscript, which helped them realize how deeply ingrained those habits were. Recognizing the value of your accomplishments is an essential part of building and maintaining confidence. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Michaela Bellata built her confidence and strong biceps through countless painful pull-ups. You don't graduate from the U.S. Naval Academy without being fit, and Bellata was never daunted by the challenge. She thrives on intense workouts, even though pull-ups are her least favorite. She gauges her own progress by how many pull-ups her peers can do in a row. "So-and-so can do 20, she says, admiring a classmate. "She's amazing." Mastering pull-ups has taken years of hard work and persistence, but it's paid off. Bellata now hits 14 or 15 pull-ups and takes pride in her improvement. "I've had to work at it and work at it to reach 14. If I wasn't willing to do that, then I shouldn't have chosen this path." It's the same with confidence. You don't gain it without effort because true self-confidence is built on consistent work and mastery. We should note again, mastery doesn't mean striving for perfection. Think good enough as you move forward in your journey. Crystal Langhorne of the Washington Mystics exemplifies the mastery-confidence connection. "My first year, I didn't play at all," she recalls. "I was wondering if basketball was for me. Instead of quitting, Langhorne decided to improve. She put in countless hours practicing her shooting, both after team practice and during the off-season in Lithuania. Her dedication paid off, earning her recognition as the league's most improved player, followed by annual All-Star selections. She remade her game through relentless practice, which boosted her confidence. When you work on things, you think, "I can do this. I practiced and I succeeded. That gives me confidence." This proves that success isn't always about being a natural, it's about doing the work. Speak up without upspeak. Speaking in front of a group is a major confidence hurdle for many people, and public speaking is often a key challenge for women. According to Running Start, a group advising young women interested in politics, fear of public speaking is one of the top reasons women don't pursue political office. But since most of us will need to speak in public at some point, it's worth tackling this fear. Whether you're in a book club, a boardroom, or at a birthday party, being able to speak confidently is crucial, and it's a skill that can be learned. If you can master it even at a basic level, the confidence it brings is significant. At an industry conference, for instance, after a keynote speech, no female hands go up when the speaker asks for questions. Meanwhile, the men confidently dominate the Q&A. This isn't just an observation, it's backed by research. When men dominate a conversation, women tend to speak 75% less. In a mixed audience, this dynamic is even more apparent. It's not uncommon for women to be hesitant to speak in front of male audiences even when they're highly confident in other settings. Katty was surprised to learn her confident sister, Gigi, struggles with this too. Despite being a world-renowned veterinarian, Gigi becomes nervous about asking questions in a crowd, which goes against her usual assertive nature. We met a young woman who exemplified confidence when she stood her ground during a debate at dinner. Despite being much younger than the man she was debating, she refused to back down, remaining calm and assertive. In contrast, many women, even in social settings, tend to give up when confronted with opposition. This ability to advocate for yourself in smaller situations prepares you for bigger moments when you need to speak to a larger audience or make a tough request. Projecting yourself confidently is a constant challenge, but the worst that happens is a little nervousness or a stutter. It's nothing to be afraid of. You're still there, standing strong. Some key tips for speaking confidently include: use your own authentic style. You don't have to emulate someone else's approach. As Peggy McIntosh suggests, bringing your home self to your professional life can help project authority, even if it doesn't fit the usual mold. Focus on the greater mission or your team's accomplishments to bolster your confidence. Speaking on behalf of others often brings a sense of purpose and power. Avoid upspeak where your voice rises at the end of a sentence, making it sound like you're asking a question rather than making a statement. Upspeak is common among women, especially when they're unsure or anxious about being judged. It can make you seem less confident and diminish your argument's validity. Christopher Peterson, a beloved psychology professor, was particularly sensitive to this. He found that it detracted from his students' credibility as they seemed to hedge their words rather than speak with certainty. As Peterson advised, say it with confidence, because if you don't sound confident, why would anyone believe you? Micro-confidence, dose and a don't. Big confidence habits can help rewire your brain for long-term success. But sometimes small fixes can give you a quick confidence boost. Here are a few tips. Meditate. A calm mind is a powerful tool. Meditation helps reduce fear and improves emotional control, making it easier to stay focused on your goals. Be grateful. Gratitude is linked to happiness and an optimistic mindset. Simply acknowledging small acts of kindness can transform your mood. Think small. Breaking down a daunting task into manageable parts can help you feel confident and reduce overwhelm. Sleep, move, share, rest, exercise, and socializing with friends are all essential for a confident mind. Practice power positions. Sitting up straight and adopting confident body language can give you an instant boost. Don't fake it till you make it. This often leads to anxiety and insecurity. Instead, take action. Do something brave, no matter how small, and confidence will follow. The quick fixes can help you feel more confident in the moment, but real confidence comes from action, growth, and authentic achievement. Chapter 7. Now, pass it on. Jim Stigler, a graduate student in psychology, once traveled to Japan to study various teaching methods. During his visit, he observed a math class with 10-year-olds where a teacher asked a student struggling to draw a three-dimensional cube to come to the front. The student, unable to complete the task, continued to try, with the teacher repeatedly turning to the class for feedback. Surprisingly, instead of breaking down, the child persisted calmly until, after several attempts, he succeeded. The class cheered and the boy beamed with pride. Stigler, now a professor at UCLA, realized that this experience revealed a major cultural difference in how the West and East approach learning and its impact on confidence. In America, struggle is often seen as a sign of inadequacy, while in Japan it's seen as an opportunity to learn and grow. This lesson underscores the importance of fostering confidence in children, not through empty assurances that they can be anything they want, but by equipping them with the belief in their ability to overcome challenges. Confidence isn't about avoiding failure, but learning to deal with it calmly and persistently. It's about showing children that progress can be made through effort, not perfection, which is a valuable tool that all parents can offer. Praise effort, not perfection. In Japan, Stigler observed that teachers often give students tasks just beyond their current ability, encouraging them to struggle and ultimately achieve mastery through hard work. This approach teaches children that struggling isn't a sign of failure, but a necessary step in the learning process. In contrast, critics of the self-esteem movement warn that many children are overly praised, even when they haven't earned it. This excessive validation leads to a sense of entitlement, a focus on status, and difficulty coping with setbacks. This generation, often praised just for showing up, may struggle with real challenges because they've never had to face the consequences of failure. Psychologist Nansuk Park advises that praise should be specific and tied to effort rather than generalized statements. For example, if a child helps set the table but makes mistakes, praising their effort rather than the end result can encourage them to keep trying. Letting children fail, such as by making a mess, is part of teaching them resilience. Katty, a mother, reflects on how difficult it is to let her children fail. She admits that, out of concern for their well-being, she sometimes rushes in to solve their problems, even when it means undermining their independence. However, she acknowledges that this pattern of overprotecting her children may prevent them from developing the skills needed to handle life's challenges on their own. Teaching life skills. Jane Werwind, founder of Dermalogica, shares that she regrets not teaching her children basic life skills, like doing laundry or cooking. She suggests a simple remedy. Start small by teaching them 20 essential tasks that help them navigate life. These skills can include things like cooking an egg, calling a friend instead of texting, and learning to take public transportation. The key to this approach is allowing children to fail and not rushing to fix their mistakes. Developing tolerance for frustration is crucial, and parents should resist the urge to intervene too quickly. By gradually learning to cope with life's challenges, children become more self-sufficient and confident. It's not about you. Research from Ireland's Department of Health and Children highlights the importance of fostering confidence in children by encouraging them to cope with life's difficulties and not trying to live out our own dreams through them. It's important for parents to recognize that their children's achievements should be for their own sake, not to fulfill the parents' aspirations. Some parents, driven by their own status, try to push their children to achieve at all costs, sometimes even attending job interviews on their behalf. These behaviors, however well-intentioned, can prevent children from developing their own independence. What truly influences children is what they observe in their parents. When children see their parents struggling and working hard, they internalize these lessons. Tanya Koch, a successful lawyer, believes that confidence often comes from seeing strong role models, such as African-American women who grew up with mothers who worked outside the home and had to be self-reliant. Raising confident daughters. While the principles of building confidence apply to all children, there are unique considerations when raising daughters. It's easy to appreciate the child who is helpful, quiet, and obedient, but this behavior often leads girls to feel that they must always be good. This can make it difficult for them to assert themselves as they grow older. To help daughters develop confidence, parents need to avoid overpraising good behavior and be less critical when their daughters act out. Encouraging girls to be a little bad can help them learn to assert themselves and challenge norms when necessary. Michelle Rhee, former chancellor of D.C. schools, exemplifies this kind of self-assurance. Despite facing fierce criticism, Rhee remained unbothered by others' opinions, a trait that served her well as she took on significant challenges. Her mother's observations of Rhee's independent nature show how confidence can manifest in different ways. Katty's daughters, Maya and Poppy, demonstrate how confidence can look different in each child. Maya is quiet and determined, while Poppy is more outspoken and unafraid to express her emotions. Both girls are confident, but in their own unique ways. The key takeaway is that confidence can be nurtured in different forms, depending on the child's personality. Discourage pointless perfection. Striving for perfection often begins in childhood, especially among girls who are taught to aim for top marks and seek approval by doing everything right. This conditioning can lead to a perfectionist mindset in adulthood, where confidence is stifled by the constant pressure to be flawless. Perfectionism, in reality, smothers true achievement. It leads to burnout, limits growth, and can make girls and women blind to the bigger picture. In her book Supergirls Speak Out, Liz Funk describes how high-achieving girls often push themselves to the breaking point, believing they must do everything perfectly. When these girls become women in the workplace, they may take on too many responsibilities, thinking no one else can do them as well. They can become rigid, resistant to feedback, and eventually isolate themselves, mistaking their control for confidence. But confidence is not about getting everything right. It's about being open to growth and learning from mistakes. To help daughters avoid the trap of perfectionism, parents can focus on praising effort rather than outcomes. Say things like, "Well done for working so hard on this," instead of "You're the best student ever." Encourage them to feel proud of doing their best, even if others do better. Be open about your own mistakes and use humor to defuse the seriousness of failure. Share stories of past setbacks that no longer sting to give your daughter perspective and resilience. Push out Pink. In 2011, LEGO launched Pink building sets aimed at girls, tapping into stereotypes while tripling their female customer base. While effective commercially, this move highlighted how pervasive gender marketing is. If we want girls to develop the confidence to see themselves as scientists, engineers, or leaders, we need to challenge the limiting stereotypes and encourage a broader view of their potential. Despite popular belief, girls are just as capable in math and science as boys. A 2009 OECD report found that girls perform just as well, if not better, than boys in problem solving. However, girls reported lower confidence and greater anxiety in math, largely because of internalized beliefs, not actual ability. To change this, integrate science and math into everyday life. Talk about how science relates to climate change, technology, health, or travel. Present it through storytelling, which appeals more to girls. Don't downplay your own math abilities. Avoid saying, "I'm bad at math," even jokingly. Instead, emphasize how math can be helpful and fun. Role modeling matters immensely. Encourage physical activity and sports as well, even if your daughter isn't naturally drawn to them. Sports teach teamwork, resilience, and how to handle both winning and losing. According to Coach Karen Kelser, sports prepare girls for real-life challenges. It's best to start young. It's easier to get used to physical competition at age 4 than at 10. Even if team sports don't appeal, individual activities like swimming, karate, or squash can provide similar benefits. Let girls experience both success and failure in something outside academics. Also, point out diverse role models in science, business, politics, and athletics. Real women in powerful positions help open up possibilities in a way no plastic princess ever could. Claire, one of the authors, took her daughter Della to watch a professional women's basketball team practice. Seeing the players in real life made a deep impression on Della. She stood in front of a mirror afterward, clearly inspired. A brief, real-life encounter like that can open mental doors and shift a girl's self-image in powerful ways. Be kind, honest, and firm. The lessons we teach our daughters also apply to the other women in our lives. Sometimes, simply telling another woman that confidence is a choice can spark growth. More often, we need to help each other by encouraging bold action. Research supports this. A 2011 Catalyst survey of 3,000 MBA graduates found that only one strategy reliably helped women advance in their careers: making their achievements known to superiors. Unlike men, who often have no trouble self-promoting, women tend to downplay their accomplishments. But talking about success doesn't have to come across as bragging. Something like, "Did you hear we won the award for creative direction? I'm so proud of my team," works well. Madeleine Albright famously said, "There is a special place in hell for women who don't help other women." Fortunately, many senior women now understand that supporting the next generation is part of their legacy. Christine Lagarde, IMF chief, actively calls on women in meetings who hesitate to speak, helping them find their voice. She also carries a list of qualified women to recommend when male colleagues claim they can't find female candidates for leadership roles. But support shouldn't always be soft. Sometimes what a friend really needs is not more encouragement but a firm nudge. Claire once had a friend who kept talking about starting a business but never followed through. Eventually, Claire told her bluntly to stop making excuses. That conversation became the catalyst for her friend to finally take action. Women tend to be nurturing, often responding to others' self-doubt with reassurances like, "You're great just as you are." But while well-meaning, this can backfire. Research by psychologist Joanne Wood found that low self-esteem individuals actually feel worse when they repeat overly positive affirmations that don't reflect how they truly feel. Instead of mantras, offer practical suggestions. You should run for city council, or you could totally lead that team. Often, one comment is all it takes to plant the seed of action. The smallest gesture, a push, a compliment, a moment of visibility, can spark meaningful change. As women, we must realize that others are watching us, especially those in less privileged positions. Being a role model isn't just about titles or fame, it's about showing what's possible. Chapter 8: The Science and the Art. Katty and Claire both received emails from Genomind and 23andMe containing the results of their genetic tests, but neither rushed to open them. Although they had initially been excited about gene testing, the thought of learning about possible genetic weaknesses made them hesitate. Eventually, curiosity won, and they scheduled consultations with genetic experts. The results from 23andMe provided a detailed roadmap of possible future health risks, from Alzheimer's to heart disease. And while there were no life-altering surprises, the reality of seeing their DNA data was sobering. Among the more lighthearted findings, Katty shares genes with world-class sprinters, though she quit running in high school, and Claire learned that her family lore of Native American ancestry was likely true. More surprising, however, were their psychological gene profiles. Both women were tested for the COMT gene, the so-called worrier/warrior gene. And to their surprise, both turned out to be MET/MET, the worrier variant. This type is known for strong cognitive function in routine settings but struggles with high-stress scenarios. Their oxytocin gene results offered some balance, as both had the variant that predisposes them to be more nurturing and optimistic toward others. When they consulted Dr. J. Lombard of GenoMind, they learned they both carry one short and one long serotonin transporter gene, a combination that can predispose people to anxiety and depression. Though sobering, Lombard emphasized that genes are only part of the story. Environment, experiences, and epigenetics ultimately shape outcomes. He noted that their genetic profile might make them more adaptable and vigilant, qualities that offer their own form of resilience. Despite some unsettling news, Katty and Claire found comfort in realizing that while their genetic blueprint included traits associated with anxiety and self-doubt, life experience had taught them to manage and even thrive under stress. Their DNA alone didn't define them. While both share similar gene variants, their personalities are distinct. Katty is more decisive and physical risk tolerant, while Claire is more deliberative and better at handling interpersonal conflict. This reinforced a key insight: nature sets the foundation, but nurture and individual experiences build the structure. Their personal detour into genetics echoed their broader findings about confidence. While they may not have been genetically predisposed to self-assurance, they had learned confidence through experience. Their work in high-stress environments like live television proved that genuine confidence can be cultivated. The deeper lesson they uncovered was that confidence isn't one-size-fits-all. Throughout their research, they saw confidence in women expressed in diverse ways, through action, intellect, leadership, and empathy. Importantly, confidence in women often looks different than in men, and that's not only okay, it's powerful. For too long, the dominant model of confidence has mirrored stereotypically male traits: assertiveness, risk-taking, fast decision-making, and overt displays of power. These traits can be effective, but they are not the only definition of confidence. Katty and Claire had once believed women needed to mimic this version to succeed, but they came to realize that women can express confidence authentically and effectively in their own way. Subtlety, collaboration, and thoughtfulness are also powerful forms of confidence. Consider a high-stakes office meeting. Many women might remain silent out of doubt or overcompensate with forced authority. But there's a third path, one of quiet confidence. Listening first, building consensus, crediting others, and speaking calmly yet intelligently can make your message more impactful. Confidence doesn't have to be loud or aggressive. In fact, psychologists are discovering strength in vulnerability. Expressing uncertainty or admitting mistakes can deepen trust and enhance confidence when done purposefully. Still, the difference between healthy vulnerability and damaging self-doubt must be clear. Reviewing decisions to improve is productive. Ruminating endlessly is not. Confidence means acting decisively, trusting your gut, and being heard. Traits like clarity, approachability, and humor emerged as hallmarks of the self-assured women they interviewed. Figures like Christine Lagarde, General Jessica Wright, and Valerie Jarrett demonstrated that confidence can blend decisiveness with warmth and openness. Katty realized her most confident moments as a journalist come when she trusts her instincts instead of adopting a combative interview style that feels unnatural. For her, abandoning the need to perform toughness made room for authentic confidence. Both women acknowledged that while traditional workplace expectations may still demand louder, more aggressive behavior, there's a growing appreciation for broader expressions of confidence. A Stanford Business School study supports this shift. Women who blend stereotypically masculine traits, assertiveness, confidence, with traditionally feminine ones, collaboration, humility, are more likely to succeed. These hybrid women were promoted more often than both men and other women. The takeaway? Women shouldn't feel pressured to imitate male behavior. Instead, they should lean into their own strengths and redefine what success and confidence look like. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand summed it up best: women don't need to act like men to be powerful. They need to recognize that they aren't deficient and define success on their own terms. Stanford research further revealed that female legislators are more effective than their male counterparts and collaborate more often across party lines. Real leadership isn't about volume or dominance, it's about contribution. Ultimately, confidence is multifaceted. It can be loud or quiet, forceful or empathetic, instinctive or deliberate. It should be authentic. Katty and Claire's journey through genetics and beyond led them to a profound truth: confidence is not just a trait, but a skill shaped by life, expressed in many forms and available to all who dare to develop it, especially women. Plus, dare the difference. Authenticity. That's the essence we were seeking all along. Though it was the final element of our confidence code to reveal itself, it may very well be the most essential. When confidence comes from the core, when it's truly ours, it becomes our greatest source of power. Looking back, we realized that Christine Lagarde, head of the International Monetary Fund, had been pointing to this truth all along. At a dinner conversation, she cautioned us against simply leaning in the way men do, warning that such mimicry can come at the cost of losing what makes women unique. She recounted a Davos panel led entirely by women. What stood out wasn't the talking points, but the behavior. These women displayed an authentic form of confidence. Listening intently, taking turns, collaborating. None of the aggressive posturing we're so used to seeing from the lone man on a stage. And yet, the impact was undeniable. Lagarde shared another story that resonated deeply with us, especially as we reached the end of our investigation. It was about making a virtue of our differences rather than concealing or erasing them. A newly elected female president in a developing country decided to break with tradition. Historically, her male predecessors had never left the palace with fewer than 25 cars in their entourage. But the nation was broke. She saw no need for the excess and chose to use only 5. She went forward, Lagarde told us. But people, especially women, warned her, "You're doing this because you're a woman. You'll undermine the status of the presidency. People will think a woman leader is less than a man." Lagarde, who often mentors women in leadership, didn't hesitate. Her advice was clear: dare the difference. Make it your selling point, she urged. Don't measure your performance or popularity against standards that weren't designed for you. Your platform is different. Your initiatives are different. Be authentic. Own that difference. The president stuck with the 5-car motorcade. Still, Lagarde acknowledged the pressure she faced. "I call her every month now to remind her, don't give up." This idea, dare the difference, became a powerful refrain for us. Lagarde added one final note: you have to be savvy about it, yes. But you also have to be confident in the difference. When we began this journey 2 years ago, the confidence gap seemed vast and daunting. In fact, The Confidence Gap was the original working title for this book. As journalists, we were intrigued by the complexity of the problem. As women, we were discouraged. Our early research uncovered disheartening data and stories, suggesting that closing the confidence gap might take generations. But something changed as we delved deeper. We dissected the concept of confidence, scrutinizing both scientific studies and social dynamics. Slowly, we began to uncover overlooked truths and untested strategies. Nuggets of insight buried beneath layers of assumption. We examined each finding with care, challenged them through interviews, and confirmed them with experts. What emerged was a practical, powerful framework, a confidence code. We distilled it into 3 foundational principles. Think less, take action, be authentic. Confidence isn't a myth or a mystery. It's within reach, and the rewards extend far beyond promotions, applause, or accolades. As Caroline Miller told us, confidence brings acceptance and purpose, a sense that I have a place in the world, that I can achieve. In Japanese, the word for purpose translates to that which I wake up for. That captures it perfectly. At the Verizon Center, we watched Washington Mystics stars Monique Curry and Crystal Langhorne in action. The crowd was electric, playoff energy in the air. And suddenly, something our husbands had said over the years made sense. Sports really is a metaphor for life. On the court, it was all there: preparation, purpose, passion, confidence in motion. Crystal missed a long shot. But moments later, she grabbed a rebound, pivoted, surged forward, and scored with a graceful left-handed layup. In that moment, she was unstoppable. She shared a high five with a teammate, her expression radiant. "I knew I could do it." To the untrained eye, it looked effortless. But we knew better. That moment was hard one. It was built on repetition, resilience, and belief. Crystal may still experience doubt, everyone does. But she's moved through it. She acts. She earns her confidence. And that's the magic of it. Confidence doesn't require perfection or superhuman talent. Its real power lies in its authenticity, in effort, in truth. In daring to be different, confidence isn't about being fearless or perfect. It's about showing up anyway. The Confidence Code reminds us that taking action, thinking less, and being unapologetically authentic is the real path forward. If this audiobook moved you or helped shift your mindset even a little, let us know in the comments. We're building a confident community together. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another empowering episode. Until next time, dare the difference.